don't know if it's just me, Martin, but can you hear you? A good start, Craig, yeah? A good start for the season. I think Martin was obviously just introducing there.
That is unbelievable, by
there
the way.
You go, you're
unbelievable.
Back.
I wasn't muted. My microphone just stopped working. There you go. Hello, welcome. I'll try that. Can we come off and then go live again? Can we just do? Right. Hello, welcome along to your pre-match build-up here on the Rangers Rabble. Rangers are back. First game of the season. Travelling away to Rugby Park to face Kilmarnock. Hello, welcome. There's always got to be something that goes wrong for the first game of the season, and the fact that it's at this time of night as well. I'll blame it on that. I'm joined by Stuart. Stuart, how are you? I see how you jumped in there, Stuart, by the way, just to take the reins and not sit silent.
I did, yes. I'm glad you noticed that. Yes, all good. Looking forward to the game. Good to have the season back.
Yes, Craig, how are you?
I'm good, mate. A little break for the season and break for me, so good to be back.
Yes, well, it's also good to see Rangers social media as one and happy again with the squad announcement. I'll just reach out tonight's team to face Kilmarnock. In goal, obviously, is number 1 Jack Butland, and then it's a back four of Tavernier, Goldson, Suter, and Barisic, and a midfield three of Dibble, Lundstram, and Raskin, and a front three of Sima, Lammers, and Dessers. Stuart, right away. Right away, Paul's on me. Right for the start. Martin, thoughts on Goldson straight into the team? For any people who watch us all the time, my prediction was that Goldson wouldn't even be in the squad, let alone start the game. So it just goes to show you why I'm the host and why I very, very rarely give opinions. We'll come to Goldson in a wee second, Paul, but we're going to start, Stuart, on Lundstram. Seems to be the big talking point from tonight's team, the fact that Cantwell has been left on the bench, but you had a few words of, dare I call it, wisdom before we started?
Look, at the end of the day, John Lundstram isn't going anywhere. As far as I can see, there's absolutely no rumours about him going back down south or anything like that. So he's going to be part of this squad. And if you listen to the manager's press conference yesterday, he said ultimately he wants to have 9 games this month. So it's clear as day to me that he's using his squad and picking and choosing people for certain games to get us through this first month of the season, which is massively important. We've also got Champions League qualifiers coming up, but we need a solid start to the league campaign, and we've also got League Cup games. So he's using the squad, and I think he's probably just felt, opening game of the season, let's go, we're playing on that pitch. The result is what matters today. Let's just go. Let's bit tight in the midfield with Raskin and Lundstram in there. But let's just, whatever way we need to get the victory. So I think we need to probably stop with the, oh God, it's Lundstram. We've just bought a guy in at the tail end of the week who I think probably will be a starter for us going forward. But he needs to manage his squad, and I think that's what he's doing in this opening game. He doesn't look as if he's going anywhere, so we're going to need a squad. So I think we just need to maybe calm down a bit here with the John Lundstram rhetoric, which I think just seems to build. And it's a bit, I see Borna is getting a bit of it on social media. If Ridvan's injured and Sterling isn't up to full match fitness, then Borna's going to play. I don't understand who else we think we're going to put in there. So I'm not overly surprised because of what he said in his press conference yesterday. I think we are going to see changes over this month, because ultimately we want to have 9 games in this month, and to think that we're just going to play the same 11 players in all those 9 games, I think is unrealistic. He's got to use his squad, and that's why I think Lundstram's in tonight.
Well, yeah, there's that, Craig. There's also, it's the first game. So obviously people are excited to see all the new signings, and plus the likes of Cantwell and Raskin. People just want to see what they perceive as the first 11 going forward. And you can maybe give or take one or two people missing out. For example, if Dessers hadn't started, but Danilo had, then I don't think there would have been much fuss. The same way there's not been much fuss the other way with Danilo on the bench and Dessers starting. I think it's just, the form that Lundstram showed in competitive games, not pre-season, even though that wasn't great, but it wasn't great for a few, and pre-season was about fitness more so than performance. But Craig, I think people are just a little bit worried that, Lundstram doesn't seem to be there on the pitch, and it's the first game of the season and you want your strongest team out there.
Yeah, you do. And I think if Cifuentes maybe had come in a week before, maybe he would have started today instead of Lundstram. If it wasn't Kilmarnock away, maybe Ryan Jack would have played. I don't think Ryan Jack's going to be risked. He's on the bench, but I don't think he'll get much today on that surface. We all want to see the new players playing, but like one of the comments said, you can't throw them all in first game of the season, and then when things don't go well, you then slag them all off because the things haven't gone well. Stuart's right. Lundstram and Borna are going to play because they are part of the squad. Unless anything happens, they're part of the squad. And this season, as it showed last season, we need a squad with depth that are going to actually perform when they come in. And today, for me, it's a clean slate for all the players. The players start from zero today, and their chance to impress.
Just come in there, Martin. Just to see Malky saying there, I wonder if I'll still be saying that if we lose today. If we lose today, it won't all be on John Lundstram. No. There'll be bigger problems than John Lundstram if we lose.
But we're not going to lose. We're going to win comfortably.
No, and I don't think we will. But I just think we can. I don't know. His form hasn't been great. I do just sense, as you said at the start, social media and stuff like that, it does seem to go in a bit of a meltdown in terms of every time he's involved. He's going to be involved. He's part of this squad. I think Craig's spot on. I think we've got options though when you look at that bench. So if things aren't maybe going as well, we can change it up slightly to impact the game better than maybe we made choices at the tail end of last season. Let's see it out. The manager's clearly had a plan for this game. Let's put faith in him that let's see how the game actually goes before we're all doom and gloom.
Listen, I know, it's the first game of the season. Let's get the positivity up through the roof, Craig. I suppose a massive positive, although it will probably be turned into a negative at some point by somebody saying something. Connor Goldson is back in the team to shore up that defence. Not really trained much. Obviously not had a lot of pre-season due to being out with injury, but just experience-wise, away to Kilmarnock, first game of the season, horrible plastic pitch. He could be massive for us today. Even though I said there's absolutely zero chance Connor Goldson makes this game.
Well, not knowing Connor, but knowing him in the past, if he had one leg hanging off, he'd probably be playing today if he'd give the option. He was similar last season when he came back against Aberdeen. He'd hardly trained, missed games. He wanted to come back a couple of games before, and the manager had to say, no, you're not. Basically, you're not playing. It's a risk because obviously the pitch he's going to be playing on. But if Goldson's 70% fit, I would have thrown him in today. But then I am going to contradict myself because I was surprised to see his name because I would have expected to see maybe Balogun playing.
Balogun, Stuart, the problem is, right, and I know Balogun's on the bench, but the thing that worries me more so with Balogun is, and I know that this sounds really stupid because Connor Goldson's just back from injury, right? I get that. But Balogun on that pitch worries me. So I would probably have rather I went with even if Goldson wasn't available, maybe I've even looked at who else was available before Balogun. But within saying that, is there any worry at all on this pitch tonight with Goldson just coming back? Maybe not. He's obviously nowhere near match fitness, but even just being, he's not even anywhere near his highest level of fitness.
Truthfully, Martin, I have a bit of a worry about any player playing on these pitches, not just Connor Goldson or anything like that. I know I'm a long-term advocate that we should not have these pitches in the top flight of the Scottish game, but that's the way we are. Like I had a feeling when we seen Goldson playing, or he was involved in the My Jers training session at Ibrox. I just had a feeling that he would be there today. Actually, I think he's that important, and I think with Davies's injury, I think that's probably expedited that he was going to come in, particularly with the big game on Wednesday coming up. I think he wants minute. He does seem like a player that, regardless of what the injury is or how long he's been out for, he doesn't seem to lose that kind of base level of fitness. You know, he's constantly got that, and he's such a huge and important part of this team that I just had a feeling he would come in. But going back to your question, no, I don't just worry about Connor Goldson. I worry about everybody. You know, give me a win tonight. No injuries. I see quite a few people are saying that in the comments. No injuries, and we move on. And I will always say that when we go to places like Kelly or Livy. It's, you know, we've seen it in the past. These pitches can be dangerous. I seen Tav talking early week. You know, he was hoping that there was a downpour or two, you know, so that the pitch isn't sticky, because you know what Kelly will have done. They won't have watered it in any way, shape, or form. They want that ball to be sticking. They don't want it to be moving quickly. That's what we want. So, like I say, let's get in there. Let's win the game. Get out. No injuries. And job done, in my opinion.
Can I just say very, very quickly as well that young Alex Lowry got half an hour tonight for Hearts. I think that's just about done. It was 0-0. Lowry came on, and then round about 15 minutes later, Hearts scored. So I'm not saying it's all because of Alex, but I'm just saying he came on and then Hearts scored, and they're currently winning 1-0. So no doubt that'll be discussions for a future Rabble podcast. Craig, I'm going to ask you something, and just quickly, because we'll talk about the strength and depth we have on the bench and the game tonight and the overall scheme of things with it being the first game. But I'm going to ask this, and please, people in the comments, don't jump down my throat when I ask this question. People watching back later on, because I do get a lot of abuse from people in the comments later on. Borna Barisic obviously playing ahead of Yilmaz because of Ridvan's injury. Is this an opportunity for Borna to maybe try and show the manager, show us, show the rest of the players in that Rangers team that he has got it in him, that he can go past the halfway line with the ball without turning back, that he can help create a positive play? Just can he do something different to show us all that, no, hold on a minute, I'm here and I'm here to stay?
Yeah, my hope is that he can. I think from experience, though, I think that's where people are sort of hoping it's not the normal Borna. For me, as I said earlier, it's a clean slate for them all. I want him to be bombing on and going forward. My worry with Borna is, and it always is, not so much going forward, it's the going back. That's the defending side, because he does tend to he's played against Armstrong before, he does tend to let the player just run at him and size him up. And once they do that a couple of times, they've sort of got the measure of him. But I do hope that he's a bit more positive today. I just don't want him to get the ball first 30 seconds and come back. I want him to be a bit more positive, and hopefully the pitch might help him in that respect, because it should be a bit more of a footballing pitch, especially when we're going to want to play that game. Whereas, like Stuart said, they're going to want to make it physical and dirty. We're going to want to play the football.
The only reason, Stuart, that I asked that question is because a lot of people have made assumptions about Yilmaz, about not being physical enough, about being too small. But from what I've seen of him in pre-season, yes, he get caught out defensively a couple of times, but he gets stuck in. He gets stuck in more than I've ever seen Borna get stuck in. And going forward, he's not afraid to play a dangerous pass. He's not afraid to lose the ball in order to make something happen. So I just hope that Borna's watched that and went, right, no, I genuinely need to step up my game now. Because for me, Borna's final ball, when he's on form, is second to none. When he's up for it, he's a fantastic player. You don't get in that Croatia team if you're not a decent player. So I just hope there's something there that gives him a wee shot in the arm to go, right, I've got a chance now and make this my own spot going forward?
Yeah, because I think if Ridvan had been fit, I think Ridvan starts tonight, and it would have been his position to lose. So you would hope that that is the kick up the arse that Borna requires. I think we have a question mark around that. I think all of us watching, all of us, the ones that be at the ground, it won't surprise me if we see him doing what he does very well, which is he drives 10 yards forward, stops, and then plays the ball back. I think we have that fear within him. You're right, though. It's about whether or not can we then work the ball, that we get him into positions where he then influences and can impact the game, which is further up the park, where he can put in those balls into the box. You're right, he's got an absolute wand of a left foot. In terms of his crossing ability, he's up there with the best I think I've ever seen at that at times. So what Rangers need to do is make sure that we're controlling the game, particularly in the middle of the park. Let's play in their half. Let's get him involved, get him in areas where he can really influence and use that. Like I say, will it be the shot in the arm he needs? I think there is a doubt over that. I think it's really unfortunate for Ridvan that this is now kind of almost 2 pre-seasons in a row where his chance was there and he's just picked up a wee niggle. Hopefully it isn't anything too serious and we can see him, because I do think he offers something different, which actually I think with the players that Beale's brought in this summer window, I think links in nicely with what Ridvan can do. But look, it's Borna. We got on with it. Let's get behind him. Let's hopefully not people get on his back at the stadium. Sometimes you do have to play back to move forward. It's not always that he's. You've got your players making runs, etc., for him to do that. But let's get him involved further up the park where he can actually influence the game. I think that's the important thing from his perspective.
Yeah, and let's just hope that he has a good game, a positive game, and kind of lays a marker down, because you want competition for places. You absolutely do, and we do have that now, as we'll talk about very, very shortly. Craig, the midfield, Lundstram, Raskin, we know all about. Dibble was seen in pre-season, and he looked slightly a different player than what I expected. So possibly this game tonight will suit him. Do you think?
Yeah, I think Robert said it in one of the pods in the week that when he came in, he was expecting him to be a player that would just basically fill the bench and may come in for certain games, but he's definitely shown that he wants that shirt. He's a very, very much a box-to-box midfielder, and he's not scared of putting in a tackle, which might be interesting tonight. He's really impressed me. I only saw 2 of the 4 pre-season games due to being away, but the 2 games I saw, he was really impressive. And I like the look of him, and be interested to see how he gets on tonight. I think he could be one of the dark horses for sort of signing of the season, from what I've seen so far.
Martin, just on that, I was really surprised that when people were putting out their predicted teams that Dowell wasn't involved. I would have had Dowell in there all day long, given how he's performed in pre-season, because I think he gives you a bit of everything. He's got a bit of bite, but he's clearly, he gives you balance as well. Left foot within that midfield. He looks as if he can play a pass. So he's got a good work rate as well about him. So I've been really, really impressed with him, and I was surprised that most people were having him on the bench. It'll be interesting to see how, again, it's going to be a squad game, so he will drop out. He'll come back in. But I thought he was a certainty to start today, so no surprise from me that he's in there.
I know, and look, we could go through every single player and we'd be here until half time. So we're not going to do that, Stuart. Just find the last player, just before we touch on the game, the player that I'm most looking forward to seeing is Big Sam Lammers. It'll be interesting to see how he deals with the pitch. But everything that I've seen from him in pre-season tells me that he is absolutely perfect for playing against the 14 players in defence.
Yeah, look, again, as Rangers fans, I think we've been very guilty to look at his stats and say, oh, make decisions about him before we even really seen him kick a ball for us. And I think a lot of people are eating a bit of humble pie at the moment with regards to that, because he's been probably the standout. Cultured left foot. What I really like about him when you see him play, he's constantly looking over his shoulder, constantly looking to see where the pockets of space are to try and give me the ball. I've got space, and he's always then on that half turn to try and make something happen. So, yeah, but really impressed with him. Again, really interesting to hear the manager speak about him yesterday, about somebody that he's, we've tried to get in the past, someone he's clearly been aware of, and the first person he went and spoke to, by all accounts. So clearly somebody that he wanted to play in this team, and he was never going to be the number 9. He's going to be that player who plays in behind, either whether that's a 1 or if that's a 2. We've got options now to do that. He's going to be the one that tries to play in that 10 role, in that space, just pick up, maybe play those slide rule passes or spray it wide. Looks as if he's got an eye for the goal as well, which again just goes to show that stats, he's not going to be playing against Serie A defences here, so we should be, the expectation you would hope is that he will not only be contributing with assists, etc., but will chipping in with goals as well. So yeah, excited to see how he does. I think he has been the standout for us in pre-season.
Oh, he really has. He really has. And I mean, look, we've got about 7 minutes to go, and I feel a bit 18 again, getting buzzing for Rangers coming back. It just feels as if we've been away for too long. It absolutely does. But Craig, let me read you this out. McCrory, Hadji, Jack, Cantwell, Cifuentes, Matondo, Roof, Balogun, and Danilo. Now, I know that we've said this a few times, right? But when have you ever seen a Rangers bench as strong as that?
It is a very strong bench. I think I mentioned it earlier.
And you can make 5 subs, of course, as well. My
only concern, and I know we've sort of potentially, it's because of the players we've got. My only concern is we've only got Balogun as a defensive player. That it's very top heavy with sort of midfield and attacking players, but it's a very strong bench. I'll be interested to see Cifuentes get some minutes, Danilo get some minutes. I'd like to see Hadji, obviously the pitch going back, but I'd like to see Hadji get some minutes and get him a sort of half an hour or so. Ideally, I'd like to be 2 or 3-0 up and be able to bring these players on, and that would be the ideal scenario.
I know. I'm Stuart, I'm looking at the bench, and like Cifuentes he's had 1 day with the team, right? But when you've got Cantwell, when you've got Hadji, you've got Roof, you've got Danilo, the biggest issue we had was scoring goals. We have now got at least 4 players on that bench, along with 4 or 5 in the starting 11 who can now score goals.
Yep, we've got options, and that's exactly what we need. And also, it means that those guys starting tonight know that there's somebody waiting over their shoulder to take their place if they don't produce it. And Beale's talked about that. He wants people to not feel uneasy, but know that there's people there. I think we've had, maybe over the last 2 seasons, people probably been a bit too comfortable regarding, well, do you know what? If I don't do it, there isn't really anybody there that can step in. Well, that's not the case anymore. But yeah, we're going to need that throughout the season. Where, in an ideal world, yeah, Skig says we'd be 3-0 up and we make changes and we give everybody minutes. But there are going to be games where it might be a bit tight, and we either need to get that opening goal or get the killer second goal. Always say that, even if we get one early tonight, it's the second goal that is the most important. And having that option, or those options on the bench, is going to be absolutely massive. We've not had that in the past. And it's an absolute luxury for the manager. Gives him a headache at times, but I think that's the headache that he's wanted.
It's a good headache. It's not I had too much to drink last night and now my head's sore headache. It's a very, very good one. In terms of the game then, Craig, very quickly, away to Kilmarnock isn't the best first fixture to get in the league. Ideally, obviously, you want to be playing at home, but in order to do that, you have to win the league. But in order to win the league, you also need to go and win games like this.
Yeah, it's not an ideal game, but if you get it out the way early, 3 points and up the road. I know a couple of the guys didn't like that phrase earlier on because it brings back the fear. But yeah, get it out of the way. Get a good. Ultimately, to me tonight, performance is important, but the result's the most important thing. If we come away with a 2-1 win and it's scrappy, I won't care on the reaction. My heart probably won't take it, but I won't care.
Well, it's like many games that we're going to face this season, Stuart. It's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be a scrappy game, but like Craig says, we just get the win and we go home, or we're going to thump them. There's not really any in between, is there?
Yeah, look, I'm quite happy maybe to get one of these games away to Kelly out the road. They've went through a bit of an upheaval this season, the pre-season as well, in terms of McInnes making decisions to clear a lot of people out and bring new players in. So maybe a half decent. I know they've had League Cup games, etc., but maybe not a bad time to actually be playing them unless he gets one game out the way on these bloody pitches. But yeah, you're right. You know, let's hope this season we've got more games where after 60, 65 minutes, we're in a position where we can actually relax and know that the results in the bag. We haven't had enough of those types of games in recent times. You know, we say that we should be beating Kilmarnock. That there's absolutely no doubt. That comment is absolutely spot on. We should be beating them, but you know, we need to win the battles. We need to let their football do the talking. We've got better players than them. Craig's right. 3 points is the most important thing. But yeah, let's hope that it's maybe a more relaxing start of the season. We can just enjoy our Saturday night.
Exactly. Okay, folks, 2 minutes to go until kickoff. Go and watch the game. Go and enjoy the game. Join us back here 5 or 10 minutes after the full-time whistle. Make sure you've got your like and subscribing. And if you're subscribed, make sure you've got notifications on so you know exactly what time the reactions are going to start. My thanks to Stuart, my thanks to Craig, my thanks to everybody watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. We greatly do it. Appreciate it. And yeah, we better go. Game's about to start. We'll see you shortly after full time. See you soon.